So yeah, hello. We're gonna look into Grafana Tempo today. This is something we discussed like 30 minutes ago because it was released yesterday or announced yesterday. And I don't know how to start exactly, but maybe Niklas, do you want to start in and share the blog post you've been reading about it?
First, we should make a short introduction, I think, because there are some new faces. And then we're going into the preparation of Tempo. Yeah, I could start. So my name is Niklas Mietz. I'm working as Senior DevOps Engineer for Sverity. Currently, I'm mostly doing their blockchain stuff, related operations, and helping customers a lot of with compliance-related services. Yeah, so that would be from my side. So I won't hand over to, who will I take? I will take Alejandro.
Hey, Alejandro Michel, Technical Account Manager at GitLab, based in Brooklyn.
Ah. So the next person could be Michael, but Michael from Austria.
Yeah. So my name is Mike Lagner. I'm a product manager and a software engineer at a company called ZKW. We build headlamps for the automotive industry. And my part is to build high-performance computing software with mostly C++. So we have a CAD engine, a ray tracer engine, and much more. Yeah, and I've worked there for 14 years now. And yeah, that's it. So I will hand over to Nico.
Okay, so my name is Nico Mazenza. I'm from Germany, like at least one other person in this call. I'm consulting, doing stuff around Kubernetes, container, cloud, and helping our customers to get started with the cloud, with Kubernetes, and so on. Okay, next one. So Marcel, do you like to?
Yes, of course. I'm Marcel, working for Comedia. We have our own enterprise CMS system, and I'm working on the team that's responsible for the cloud offering of the CMS service. And yeah, my focus is on monitoring and the automation. So basically the whole monitoring stack around Grafana, Prometheus, Terraform, and Python. Yep, that's it. Okay. I think we're done with the introduction then.
Yeah, it's probably just me. I'm the other Michael from Austria, but I'm living in Germany. I'm the crazy one who knows everyone in this round. I do love observability and monitoring. Yeah, and we kind of found out that there is something going on or something new this week because Grafana's observability con happened. And we learned about Grafana Tempo and was like, yeah, maybe we want to just try it out. And before the session, Niklas shared a blog post with me. And probably it just makes sense to talk about a little bit about what Grafana Tempo is. Maybe I can hand over to Niklas now with doing a short introduction, or maybe what's the next step?
Yeah, probably we could do a short introduction. Literally, the problem is I can't share my screen right now because I need to give Zoom access that I'm allowed to share my screen, so I need to restart it. I checked this. I forget this mostly.
A normal issue.
Oh wait, I will check because every window has a big warning sign. So probably I don't know if I can share anything.
No, it's not a problem. We can just talk this over. Then I will open up the blog post.
Should I send you the link into the chat?
No, I found it. I will share it in a second. I'm just multitasking. Chat is over here, and I can I share my screen? It's It's always funny to find the right window. Is it, yeah, it should be this one. Oh, no, it's the other one. Doesn't matter. Many tabs are opened. So
yep. So literally talking a little bit about Grafana Tempo. Grafana Tempo is a new services was spin up from the people from Grafana Labs mostly. It will help you like you're seeing the T. So the T is mostly related to tracing. So a trace is a time span where an action happens mostly. So that can, for example, a trace could be something like an HTTP call. So in distributed systems, you have probably a lot of traces in the end because each service needs to call another service mostly, and you want to visualize it. So a trace is mostly like an indication on which event currently something happened mostly with a timestamp in it. So if you are coming back from a normal programming language or from a programming language, at least you know probably also traces because you know the familiar concept of stack traces. So where you can see in your compiled language, you can see the stack trace where you can see which function was called to which time zone and with which values mostly. In distributed systems, we have a bigger problem to solve because it doesn't run only in one machine, it can be run on multiple machines. And for that are mostly traces in this common pattern. So then we are talking about distributed tracing, because then it's really interesting in the step of when the actions happened and when it will be provided to the next call, so that you have a timeline. So simple traces can be easily seen. So probably, can you open your develop mode in the browser? I'll show you the.
Probably.
It's
more tools. I cannot remember the shortcut. So.
And I think network.
Yeah, going on network and reloading the page simply.
But I need to press record. All right.
Record is always enabled when you're on this
It's
mode.
always.
So and here we can currently also see traces from the browser mostly. So we can see in the timestamp when it was happened, and later we can see the full graph when it was finished or the request. Mostly this shouldn't be doing on the front end side. We are more interested now with Tempo in the back end side when one service calls another service mostly. So these are the traces, and then we can dig in more into the topic of how our application is currently working, because we have currently in the observability space, we have three tools that we're mostly using to analyze all of this. So we have logs for dating when the event has happened, so which data was sent mostly there. Then we have metrics for counting stuff. And in the last point, we have mostly traces to visualize which action was done, and also in the step of this which value has it. Mostly you probably know also some familiar tracing tools. So there are some tools like Jagger, for example, or the other tool that was the first papers that comes from also Google, I think, OpenZipkin, or was it Uber or Google, one of them probably. They wrote the table how they orchestrate all the microservice architectures, because they had a lot of service and a lot of service calls each other, and so they want to see which call happened to which timestamp and in which context mostly. Yeah, and the problem with this is mostly that it's really complex to scale these tracing concept. Because you need to index a lot of queries and doing a lot of stuff about it. And Grafana was now thinking about the step, hey, instead of that, you use Jagger and using an index service like Cassandra or Elasticsearch at least, you can use a simple pattern and store in all your traces into a bucket, mostly an object store. So there could be S3, it could be a Google Cloud Storage, or it can also menu. One trade-off of this that you need to take is mostly because you don't indexing the full trace, so you can't search about it mostly. You need at least know the trace ID to see where the trace happened. This is the main difference between Jagger and also Tempo. And also the short introduction a little bit about tracing mostly. I hope so I explained it in a good manner.
I think that's really great. I just found an old presentation of mine, which I need to share with you as well in the chat, which I did like explaining what open tracing and open metrics are. This was kind of the first ideas of like how to explain what it is, and also like saying, hey, we want to maybe have a combined solution. How does it feel? Because you also mentioned, yeah, like Jaeger tracing and open tracing was just a little bit before that. And I think it's called Open Sensors, which was the implementation. And then there was kind of the announcement last year, I think, about Open Telemetry, which can replace Jaeger, but it won't. So it will coexist. And people started to like with integrations and saying, hey, I want to like adopt Jaeger with Open Telemetry. Open Telemetry went GA, I think, some days ago or something like that, or it's announced by the end of the year. And so this is all about like getting insights into your application. Be it, for example, when you run CI/CD deployment and you want insights into the application stack, the call stack, the timing points, how long does an SQL query take? One node in the Kubernetes cluster, for example, is fast, the other one is not. And these are all the insights you can get out of that. The perfect example is tracing MySQL connections, but there are lots of others. And I need to be switching back to the blog post, which I closed somewhere in my many tabs. It's a lot to unpack. But yeah, the idea was, I think, to try it out. Then we have a picture about traffic.
So does it always depend on a timestamp and the duration, or could it be just only the timestamp?
So when you have, you can calculate where, because a span is mostly it started and it ended, so the duration is the difference between that mostly. So you have every time you have also the duration. So
okay. So it's always has a start and an end point.
Yeah. So this would be a trace. So literally, mostly to refer this, yeah, open tracing was one of the first initiatives, and also open sensors comes, and like there's better examples than mine of, yeah. And probably then the trick is about that you have parent spans. So for example, that one request can follow another, like in the browser mostly that we saw afterwards.
Yeah.
And this is the real time, then you have a full time. So for example, your operation, at least, for example, creating a user could take 2 seconds, and to see the full span, probably you see only the SQL query takes at least from all your operations take at least 1.5 seconds mostly. Then you see, okay, you need to look only on the SQL query and improve this instead of looking in probably over-engineering the performance of your applications. So to see the function get faster code and so on, this would be one of the fellow mains. Mostly, what is more also interesting, what is really in the blog post from Grafana, he saw. Let me think where it was. So mostly traces is only one part, and when you're going down a little bit in the blog post, mostly when you're entering Tempo, yeah, so it's about the IDs. So because mostly, yeah, going a little bit further down. So there's more technical stuff about Tempo.
Okay, that's TempoDB. Okay, this is the backend. Okay, I think this is the object storage.
Yeah, mostly this is the interesting picture. that I want to look at.
This one.
So yeah, mostly what you want to do with all your observability tools is you want to make a drill down at least. So for example, you see in your alerting, you see something happens wrong, and you see, okay, this happens on this time. And then you want to have a look at the trace, for example. Then you can look into the, because you're getting also, there's a proposal to add the trace IDs to your monitoring metrics so that you can search for it directly. And then you can have the correlation to your logs so that you mostly there's a real great blog post of, I need to look at it in the meantime, Peter.
You are talking about, no, exemplars is the different direction. Exemplars is
about the
like,
unisections in yeah, I'm talking about exemplars mostly, but to see the unisections between all the monitoring stuff, it's an outboard post. Wait, give me 1 minute. No, this is not the right. So,
but just to explain the term exemplar, that was always like the idea when you have your Grafana metrics and graphs, and depending on whether the data source is Prometheus, InfluxDB, Graphite, whatever, that you want to kind of correlate that or connect that with, for example, Elasticsearch log output or Grafana Loki. And when you are troubleshooting something, and this is probably not during the work hours, it's like 3 a.m. in the morning, you want to see everything which kind of influences the current state. And I think it's one of the things, it's critical to see, okay, there's a trend and something is going on. And by the way, these are the log lines, or these are the additional insights you want to map into that. And tracing is just another layer or another data format which needs to be mapped into this.
Mostly when you're clicking on my link that I sent to the chat, there's an also awesome diagram from Peter Borden.
I remember this blog post.
I like this blog post mostly when we're talking about observability, because it explains it so easy mostly to see where currently what are metrics, what are traces, and where correlate to each of them. So because mostly we have the 3 parts in here, also it's the same like doing for Tempo, and mostly when you're going now down in the blog post, it's so we have the 3 sections. So there's only the events, so the request drop going a little bit further down. Yeah, so this is the most interesting graphic that I know about this. And here's typically also to the graphic was added is the range where you have a high volume of data that you need to store and a low volume. So that means probably everything from us knows, okay, we want to implement logging. So mostly you get some expertise from consultants, from external consultants. They say you need to set up Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch is really high data intensive workload, and also it needs to be big resource requirements instead from computing, so memory and CPU, and you need to set up distribute, so it's a huge impact. Mostly the value you get mostly from logging is for most people, or not for most people, but for some people using it not enough to get the value out of logging. So you have mostly a bigger logging system than your whole application stack. So, and for developers or for mostly people that want only to see how it currently correlate to each other is mostly probably a good way that you only have in metrics and only the traces that you can see the aggregation, and logging can be an additionally step to that. Or you can see, for example, typically the most people have mostly metrics and logging stuff, but right now not tracing. So there's a dependent step of this, and what currently Tempo does is they reduced a little bit the volume of the traces. In terms of the storage that is required to save all these traces, because they're saying, hey, you can't do a full search on all our traces. We were storing only the IDs mostly in the buckets. So you need to know what you search. Michael already tweeted a cool post about that. Where was it also explained from Björn Plonka, I think he was called. He's also one of the co-creators of Tenos.
Well, you mean my Twitter history somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't be tweeting so much. I think it was yesterday somewhere. No, this is feature flags. This is something different. This is Garfield. This is Lego.
I will look also.
By the way, Loki 2.0 is out. This is also something we need to test.
Next week, JSON indexing. It's really great. So probably now we can also get rid of Elasticsearch of a simple cases. Yeah.
You probably mean this one, right?
Yeah, and he was tweeting about the point. So if you're looking into the tweets more.
Yeah,
no, going back.
Responses.
Yeah, to the response, sorry. And he was really great explaining that. So in terms of, what was it? Duplicating the lottery systems, different, same lottery events, and he says, okay, it's the same, mostly. Where was it in the terms of?
And Prometheus will be able to collect exemplars as well. Okay.
Yeah, there's a post, but or was it on his post directly, where he says that indexing is better instead of using search, going up? So I don't remember it anymore. So in the tweet that he posted, you need only to go back. No, it was in the post, so it doesn't matter in the end. So mostly, so this is mostly the cruel part about Tempo that we are now able to using when we are using the most famous Telemetry related framework. So OpenTelemetry, Open Tracing. I don't know the other icon. I know only Jagger, but is this Zipkin right now? Zipkin and Euro?
I think it's Zipkin.
But yeah, and then you can indexing or saving them into Tempo, and then you can also having the correlation on Grafana. But yeah, this is the main idea behind that mostly. Instead of saving them and full searchable, you need only to know the index ID. And you will, when you have the full tooling stack with Prometheus, later with the exemplars, you have the full angle of all the support that you probably need to having a good observability on a low cost of infrastructure, but also scalable. So if the big important point about it is they say, okay, we want to make things easier, but we can because of that, we can easily scale them. So we simplify stuff. We have not the rich feature tool set mostly. So like when you're doing tracing with Zipkin, so because then you can do full searches on the traces. And yeah, and this is the main idea behind it. So they say, okay, we have a little small set. It's like the same when we started with Loki. In Loki, we get only JSON or indexing JSON files mostly. Well, now it's not indexing. You can pass JSON files mostly. It's only available since Loki 2.0. So what's also get right now out the store. Yeah, and this is the terms of that allows small companies or small use cases to use all these techniques that you have a standard for that and don't build it on your own mostly. This is really great. Yeah, so probably we can have a look on that.
It's a lot to unpack. So we had Loki in version 1.0, which was I think last year, where you could which used the same format, basically the same format for metrics and logs. So you could just fire up. Or was it metric? Yeah, a Prometheus query basically looked kind of the same like Loki for logs, which made the interface in Grafana way more easy. And you didn't need to learn a new language back then. Okay, exemplars with traces. This is coming up. So this is currently in development. I think something is coming next week in that regard, but I could be mistaken. Yeah, and Tempo for traces and logs. The thing is, how to try this out now. I think I have the, was it this one? No, I have the getting started documentation open somewhere.
You posted it in the post.
Yeah, and I'm also like writing the notes. I think I need to kind of share my screen in a different way now. I just need to check my terminal.
Wait, or should I start with this? Should I share?
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah, I try. So at least I need to reconnect mostly. It's not a problem, but I have Docker running. I need to check some parts, but give me 1 minute. I can do the demo.
Yeah, I will be just like talking like everyone else. Like, are there any questions in between or any different thoughts until we kind of get going?
Okay.
Seems everyone is waiting for just the
the demo
interesting
for
stuff.
So the thing about the not searchability, so it's based on the fact that other systems know the ID. Because if I can't search it, how can I find it? That's not 100% sure to me, because there's the indexing. I fully understand why indexing is better here, but how I can get the samples out of it. So I need a second system.
The thing is, when you implement spans and traces, you oftentimes duplicate some information which is already in the logs. And if you kind of shrink the trace and only store an integer, a number, and have that same number in your logs, then I think Tempo connects that in a specific sense, or like the storage does some magic, and you need both components. So I believe that in the trace, which has like the logs or the tags inside, there is just like an indexed number or some detail inside. But I'm still, which is the right one? This is the right one. I'm still trying to understand how this works together. I've also seen that Tempo has an open telemetry exporter, which means you can connect it there as well.
So probably when you don't share, I can try to share my screen. So we can dig into that. Okay, wait, I now get the window that I was looking for. I will quit my Zoom. I will be back in 1 minute so that we can do it. Wait.
Just keep talking. I think the demo should be kind of doable for everyone else as well. So we need to create a Docker network. Okay, then we'll do some YAML magic. This is interesting. What's inside the configuration file? Authorization enabled. Okay, this has kind of some authorization layer inside. That's the server listening port. Distributors, receivers. Okay. So Tempo can receive from Jaeger, from Zipkin, from OpenCensus, from OpenTelemetry, probably. I don't know what that means. Ingest compactor.
Okay. So I'm ready to go. So
yeah,
can we probably share screen on both sides? So in regarding of the getting started, or should I something make so that I have a panel getting started on the?
Maybe have the getting started on the left-hand side.
Okay.
Maybe increase the font size of the terminal.
Wait. No problem. Yeah. So literally, I I have something like a Docker currently running. Probably we had enough RAM or CPU. We will see if it breaks or not, mostly. Okay, so first up, we need to spin up the Tempo backend. So for that, we create a simple Docker network. So that means instead of so a Docker network is only a bridge. So when you're typing Docker network ls, seeing the default, so we're creating our own network for the Tempo. Mostly it will go like this. So now we have the network created. Now let's check what this compose does mostly. No, this loads the configuration. So this is the configuration file mostly. So it's like looking a little bit like Loki. So we have the ingester to collect all the data, or getting all the data, collecting them, and the compact does the job of doing making the traces smaller after one time. So it's the compactor. So literally, and the storage. Mostly we will save it on a file right now, not in a bucket. So it's okay. So
just
the next step is
just a question. Do you think that kind of duplicates or just reuses portions of the Loki code then? If
they don't use Loki in the backend. They use mostly, so the main idea between Loki and also Tempo, all the main ideas, the storage part coming from Prometheus. And the storage and compact part is from Cortex. So Cortex is the high scalable Prometheus that they're using internally for managing the SAS product, at least. And so they reuse the code mostly. Yeah, so this is why it's called very similar to the other tools mostly. And saying we're doing it on an index space, also doing it like in the Prometheus way because they're using some of the same code parts.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
So now we need to run the container. So let me check. So it will run in background. It will be, oh, it's interesting. It's UDP. Why it's UDP?
Okay.
So Jagger Swift Compact. Probably I know there are some problems with UDP and Docker. Sometimes we will see where they're using it. Or mostly also in Kubernetes. I need to open a second page. No, right now not yet. Okay. So then we need to spin out. Okay, so now what we did is we started the backend. So little we know we need an application that can query Tempo for the traces. So we will spin up the Tempo query container for that. So downloading it and starting it. So probably we can see it runs on a different port. It uses the same and running in the network mostly. And interesting part about here is probably we should have a look on the configuration. Okay, so mostly it's not so interesting. It uses the same port like Loki also using for the ingesting or communication part, but they're using for communication, they're using gRPC mostly to do this. So that's why it's called gRPC storage pattern. And now we should able to see something. So I will make up a new window. Right. Where is it? Something like this. So, interesting. So what we did, got it. So we started the query interface, and the query interface looked similar to Jagger. So I think they're using currently the Jagger UI for that. so that you can using the traces and so on. Send traces from the application to Tempo. Depending on the SDI use. Okay, so probably we need an application. So we need something like an instrumentation. So we need an app mostly. Now we have a backend. We can log for trace, but we have no application currently running that produces traces. So we have a.
Would Quill just be fine, or?
Oh, we need to.
Maybe
the Jaeger demo has an app which generates traces.
Examples with the demo app.
Oh, the Jaeger getting started has a demo application, which probably is something we could reuse. I'm not sure why the getting started guide is not complete.
Well, we can make a pull request for that.
Yeah, that of course.
So clearly they have some demo apps, example of the demo app. So there's a Docker Compose microservice.
If you look at the top, it says if you're looking for a demo application to play with Tempo, skip to the example section at the bottom of the.
Here. So if you don't have any application to instrument at the moment, because we don't have an application, we can use the Docker Compose microservice.
Okay.
So now we have a backend. So I would prefer to go with the Docker Compose and not using JSONnet right now. Because for that I saw it already that you need to spin up a Kubernetes cluster. But let me check if we can use something simple.
No, use the Docker Compose. This looks like Tempo query, Prometheus. I don't know what synthetic load generator is, but this seems to be the demo.
So I think this will generate some. Let us check the example how it works. Probably we need only to spin up.
Yep. I think you can just kill the previous containers and do Docker Compose up -d.
We need probably only to spin up the synthetic load generator, and then we can add it later to the document. So win-win for both. We need only to set up one container. So right now,
if we want to see something, sorry.
So to see, we need only the synthetic log generator mostly.
Yeah, but to see more, we need Prometheus and Grafana later on, and this is what's inside. But yeah, it should be doable. But I think you're faster if you kill the containers, download the Docker Compose YAML file, and do.
But this is too simple.
Not so much fun.
I say it in the GitLab way. This is the boring solution.
Okay. So we need to kill something. Interesting. Something goes down. No. But we spin up 2 containers, right?
Maybe seg fault? No, I have no idea.
But I Docker PSA. Why is
downloaded no image? Yeah, that's strange. We can debug later. We want to see something.
I will kill all of my containers. Okay. So we have a fresh image, and then we need to download the Docker Compose. Okay, so now we need to spin up everything. Okay, it will also download menu tool. So let's have a deep dive in the time. So what's the config look like? So this is the Tempo source that we already spin up. This is the backend mostly. I will make it a little bit higher. So the menu will be probably later for storing all this stuff. Temperature is the Jedi UI mostly. The synthetic load generator is an instrumented application that generates load. And we have Prometheus and Grafana for visibility mostly, I think. Yeah. And how's the password for Grafana? Oh, okay, probably need to follow also that. Build image
Probably it's either it's passwordless, so it asks you to change and you say no. Typically it's admin.
Yeah.
So typically now we should, because we spin up the same container, we should see some services here, or not? Probably we do the same like it's stated in the README, so that we see in the load generator. But how does the load generator work?
Probably just makes your system suffer.
It's only my virtual machine, it's not my real system, so it's okay. So runtime form of emitted trace ID for service.
Load generator.
I know why. Okay, I was too lazy. I need to check out the whole repository because there's the load generator JSON in it. I can't only copy the. So this is the example. So
clone the repo. Or zip.
Git clone foo. Yeah, but it's cool that the examples are directly in the repository, and I've seen that there's Helm and I don't know what TK is. Jason at Tanker. That's basically inside the repository. So
okay,
you can.
Interesting here. It's stored operations in Loki. The folder for deploying it, it's stored production. Where is it now? Is it in the silo? Yeah, takes. No. So something happened. I'm in the wrong folder. Hello. Okay, I break something. Okay. So literally I need to shut down everything.
The other tab is not responsible.
Yeah. It's responsible. It takes some time. I think my shell needs some time to spin up all this and this cute Okay, so going back into the it was called example, right?
Example, yeah.
Example.
.compose. And now we spin up everything again.
Yeah, just remember the days when we needed to build that manually with starting VirtualBox, installing CentOS 5.
And we had Vagrant in the past, so it was okay. Vagrant up and everything was fine.
Before Vagrant. We are
not before Vagrant. So I'm too young for this.
There was no time before Vagrant.
Imagine the time before Puppet and Ansible.
Yeah.
Cluster shell.
They are omnipotential.
Okay.
So where was it?
Example. What do you mean?
Yeah. So that we have paid for README mostly, because I want to copy a command for that. Yeah. So literally we have something like this. Now we're seeing a lot of trace will be generated. So literally when we now research,
I think, yeah, I'm totally gonna steal the demo for the load generator. This should be useful for other use cases as well.
So image tracing, navigate to Grafana. Okay. So let's do it. And now we find some trace IDs. We're looking for that.
Oh.
And here we can see, like I explained, so where the server stored it, so how many timestamps in it, probably. Okay, so I will change my windows a little bit. Give me 1 minute. That. I'll see that, so that we can see a little bit more. Currently, we see from which instance. We have some meta informations in terms of text and process. Probably. Can we also see the parent span? It won't show in the UI, so literally it's here the ID.
Yeah, but it already looks amazing, to be honest.
Yeah. And literally what I like to see is also that you can now click on here or getting the copy button and going into the log stuff, so in Loki. But there was an example for Loki, I think, also. Yeah, here could be also an example for Loki, okay. And so this is literally to saving all the stuff, but interesting point would be now where it got saved, literally. So now, like I said before, artery. So we have also an object store, and this time it's called Menu. Menu is mostly known as one of the famous object stores that we used before. So it was one of the first implementations that implemented the S3 protocol. And it has a lot of performance regarding. It's also for bit routing if you want to access it. And you can do a lot of stuff. So it's literally an object store on S3 base. An object store, yeah. So if you're using Ceph or something else, probably, then you don't need it directly because it will be built from your application provider. So from your storage provider. But Menu, the idea behind Menu is that you're having a storage on blocks mostly on the side that you can easily run and scale mostly. It's also written in Go. Yeah, and now we need to log in. It's called Tempo and super secret. I will copy that. Okay, interesting. So now we currently can see here the data that that Tempo saves us. So it has at least. No, I can't review it. I'm lazy. So no, I can't view it directly, right? Yeah, I can only see. Probably can only download an object. Wait, let me check if I'm trying to open that. Oh, phone shortcut. Okay, so this is only the binary. Mostly then will be the image JSON more interesting. The meta JSON. What? Does it get deleted? Okay. Compacted. Let's check. Yeah, and literally can now here see which Format, document, something like this. Yeah, true. So literally, probably we have also the options to have multi-tenancy, so that we're saving for each traces can be saved in different directories. And it shows us some information about what is the starting ID. I think this is the, so it's like in sharding concept mostly, I would assume. Oops. Something. Let me check if it's a trace ID. No, it's not a trace ID. It's something else. So really, here are now all our stuff is saved. So all our trace that was generated. Probably when we know. Ah, wait. It's the same problem because I talked already. Okay, you can't do it by searching it because they are not directly indexed in terms of you can having a full look. So we can have the same if we know the trace ID, we can also use Jagger to display that. So mostly same. To save that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we can like integrate other systems as well. If you do not want to depend on like Grafana as a front end.
Yeah. Probably yes. Also yes. So and also interesting more is now. Wait. I will take probably you can also what you can do is to compare traces so that you can see where the request currently going to that. So what else? I'm not clicking here. Okay. Also, you can see that it's quite identical, but you can also check. Probably we should use different, right?
This is just to check a URL.
Or it's
yeah, this is Jagger now.
You can. This is Jagger right now. Now you can in Jagger. It's mostly to see where the difference between the trace. So probably you can see here the chart is different. I don't know what the weighting currently means. I need to check it was +100%, +100%. These are different chords. Yeah. So
it's a web shop. You have something in your cart in your you want to buy something, and the front end, the product presents something probably. The recommendation service is the Amazon bar, which says buy this, at the bottom, probably.
Oh. Let me check if we can also do that here. No. Currently comparing traces is not possible, but I need to check what it does mean.
But one thing you can do is you can create multiple dashboards with different traces. So you can like have them the first one and the second panel and the third panel and something like that. But I don't think you can stack them right now. But it's totally new, so let's just wait another month.
And deploy it in production.
Nicholas will do it.
That looks nice. I would deploy that in production, to be honest.
Mostly if you have nothing, it's better than that, mostly. So mostly also in terms of buying complete, I think it could be good use for early adoption. So in terms of if you want to get started with tracing, you have a real cool UI set for that. Mostly true.
I think you're right when you did not start yet with Jaeger or maybe like open sensors, open tracing, open telemetry. It's a good way to get started easily. So you have something where you see something and it's like beautiful in your current monitoring because you probably use Grafana already with Prometheus or InfluxDB or whatever. So you can like play around and ask your admin to upgrade if you're not the admin. And then kind of skip everything we like tried today and get things going. And kind of one thing I did with adding tracing to an application was I started with timing points. So I was kind of measuring how long config compiler took and like saying, hey, I want to probably have a heat map. No, it's not a heat map. It's a call stack heat map with a flame graph. This is what I was looking for to see the call, how often functions are being called. This is another story of the game, but kind of how long specific things take. And this is rather easy to instrument. Or you are kind of adding, if you're using object-oriented programming, you are adding something to the constructor and the destructor to measure the lifetime of objects, for instance. It's a different way than to use tracing, but it could work as an example to get things going rather easy.
Yeah, and trying it out at least, and you don't need to have a big investment like to spin up all the stuff mostly, and having a quite streamlined way to set this up mostly. So to see, yeah. So
do you ever use Chrome tracing? So Chrome / tracing?
So we used tracing on a other company. So literally, there are also some proprietary stuff. So besides it, so for example, someone know from you in Stana, they also gives you tracing, and we use this mostly to see it. It's a more compliant way of doing it from the application side, so that you have a full feedback loop for that.
So it just mean when you type in Chrome or any Chrome browser, Chrome / tracing. That's what we usually use when we compile with Ninja to get an visible view. Okay. So that's the tracing stack, the view stack, which you're seeing in Jaeger or something like that. And you can load something into it, and it's a really easy JSON format. So you can generate stuff and put it into this. So you can record it, but you can press load and get this information from different. It's something which we use the last couple of months, and it's really cool because you have an easy format to visualize something which is only happening on a local node, for example.
Just a note on Tempo query, the README or the documentation says it's Jaeger query, but with a HashiCorp Go plugin to support querying Tempo. So it's basically revamped. I was just wondering if there are other examples already for interacting with the application. There was Docker Compose in the README, I think, or in the getting started.
Yeah, no, I missed my window mostly. Let me check. Yeah. So we have right now a Helm, what you do it with Helm, what you do it with Tantra. But Tantra is a single different story that we need to talk about. So when we're doing a deep dive or doing an overview about JSONnet, mostly. So because it's a requirement to use Tantra, I would say.
Yeah.
And JSONnet is quite different. So I've not so many experience with JSONnet right now.
I did a bunch of stuff with it in the past week, so if you want to talk about that, then I can help to prepare something, I guess.
Very true. Or you can do it. It's better.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I did it in combination with Grafana to generate the Grafana dashboards.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you can prepare something.
So
yeah,
it would be interesting to see.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Or probably explain Tundra afterwards. What's the benefit of using Tundra instead of using raw JSON? Yeah, so I think we are a little bit over time, right? Again.
Not that much.
Yeah, not that much. You still have 1 hour to go.
Okay.
That is the meal.
No, I think probably we are too early to like say, hey, where is some code which we can use? But I've just peeked into the issue tracker, and there are some recommendations about adding app microservices example and improve span rate limiting and Helm tests and even more things which are being dealt with. So I kind of expect when everyone is like resting from ObservabilityCon at Grafana, they will be working hard to like add everything we desire, or maybe even tell us how to contribute. There are some good first issues, but given that there are already 385 stars on the repository, I think this will gain speed rather easy, and hopefully others are inspired by like watching now or watching later on this stream, that they just get things started and try it out and hopefully share it in a blog post or share it on Twitter. This will be great. Maybe we should like revisit it next week with JSON Tucker thing. Maybe we combine it with learning Rust. I don't know. Let's do it. Let's do it in a way that we do it spontaneously next week. I'm open to everything, which is fun.
It's not next week we're meeting with the captain people?
No, it's in 2 weeks' time.
Okay. So we need to have.
We can also look into Gitpod with GitLab's GDK. This was also one of the ideas. We could look into Honeycomb. This is something I also wanted to do for a while in the English coffee chat, like trying this out, maybe combining the beelines from Honeycomb and open telemetry with Tempo. I don't know, would also be a possibility. I think that tracing and generally speaking, monitoring and observability is a hot topic, and this is getting speed. So I would say let's rest a little, and next week we will jump into whatever is possible. And if Marcel can like prepare something, maybe have it ready in a markdown format so you can easily create a blog post out of it. This would be nice if this works for you, just in case.
Yeah, Markdown works, but I'm not sure if I'll make it until next week because I'll be on vacation next week. But yeah, due to the more or less lockdown, yeah, I may have some more time. So I'll let you know if I make it until next week.
Yeah, just take your time. It's no pressure intended. If it's not ready, we totally find something else to try out because we have so many ideas around, and we have Niklas who loves to create to do live demos. So
doing live demos with no clue mostly.
You can never leave. You can never go on holiday.
Holidays for people that need. I don't know.
Holiday is important. Holiday is important. With that, I would love to say bye on YouTube now.